Mm,
Loki episode 3.
yes, the love triangle.
Ooh.
It was I still think the pacing's okay so far. I think the whole use of the loom still being like, I'm glad that they addressed that the loom isn't actually sorted. So they've still got this like issue that's looming
Yeah.
over everything. So it's keeping the pace somewhat quick enough, I think, so far.
I think we were right that they kind of had the pruning at the end of the last episode to stabilize the loom so that
Mm,
people weren't going, well, how's the loom still alive
yeah.
then? Um, but also it didn't solve the problem. And they said during this episode, okay, but that was a temporary fix that's going to allow us a bit of time. But these timelines are going to start diverging again and getting bigger again, and then we're going to be
Yeah.
back where we were.
Well, that was the
I thought we've
interesting
got to move
thing.
quick here.
OB was like, the branches are regrowing. So my thought is like, are they? So the pruning clearly, in the sense of what was meant to happen for the pruning, it hasn't really done anything. And are these branches? I wonder if these branches are regrowing the same, or are they split more? So in a way, there's now more branches that are happening.
So you've got to remember, like it's all very botany based. They're branches, so they prune.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are regrowing because they're not doing anything to stop the divergent timelines.
Well, yeah. Then they
So
didn't do it at the beginning, sort of
yeah,
thing.
so imagine what we're getting in reality is someone coming along with a hedge trimmer,
Mm.
tidying up the hedge, and they're going to start growing back,
Yeah.
but they might not grow back the exact same way.
Yeah. Okay.
So them like variations of timelines we were seeing
Hmm.
might not exist again yet or ever.
This okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think it permanently gets rid of it, but bearing in mind we now know that time is a big circle that just repeats,
Yeah.
it might take
Everything
we
can
don't know what a
re-happen eventually.
revolution is,
Yeah.
but it might take 300 or 400 loops before the same decisions happen in the same
Yeah.
way again to allow the same branch to exist.
Yeah, I get you. There was something else OB said that I thought was quite interesting, which like he mentioned they need to make the ring bigger so it can handle the increase threads and the knotted threads. And
Yeah.
I was like, I saw a fear as like someone was like, I wonder if those knotted threads are where thingy events are happening, or what they call it, where two worlds collide.
Oh,
Um
okay.
in Doctor Strange, I forget the term
Yeah.
for it now.
Incursions.
Incursions. I wonder if that's like this has caused incursion events to be happening.
Yeah. No,
Like
that's a
everything's
good idea.
getting messed up. There's obviously a lot of things that this could affect in like whether it's branches or maybe on the actual the prime time the one true timeline,
The sacred
sacred one.
timeline. Yeah,
Um
100%. It's very interesting to see how it's all going to play out in the long
yeah.
term. That is for sure. Um
But we saw Chicago.
I I was really interested to
Hmm.
get your thoughts on the idea that the sacred timeline is sacred, but it's not actually, it was created to be sacred. But it proves that he wasn't doing it out of the kindness of his heart because he had a failsafe in place to manipulate the sacred timeline to allow him to be reborn in the same way.
Well, yeah. There was so he exists on the sacred timeline, and then when he's given the book that makes a branched one,
Yeah.
it's like almost, which then proves the point of like, I guess there's versions of him that would never really have become Kang,
Hmm.
maybe on the sacred timeline, unless they're like, I think it's so that's something that's like this new Kang variant we've got. Um, I think so. We know from season one, he mentions it was like the 30th century is when there was like the Great War of the Kang, like the Kangs were all fighting and stuff. And this is set late. This is obviously a later date than that. This is like
Hmm.
1960. I wonder if the He Who Remains has purposefully like whether he existed he clearly didn't only exist at that time. point in time, has he then planted like multiple kind of Kang babies across the sacred timeline? And then he can, and like you say, at any point, fail safe, he can have one turn molded the
Yeah,
way he wants it to be molded. It's quite clearly like he's trying to protect his idea of the TVA and his way of running things by causing, like, controlling when one of these Kangs, how his path goes, sort of thing.
yeah, 100%.
So I don't think this
It
new one's one of the evil ones per se.
um,
I don't.
it's it's tricky,
Mm,
because I think inherently the way like Kang
well, yeah.
is all Kangs are like not inherently bad by themselves, but it's once they have the challenge of their alters they become evil, if that makes
I
sense.
get you.
So in isolation they're fine.
Mm,
It's when they like start butting heads that they become a problem because they know how to push each other's buttons and get each other into their worst versions.
yeah.
Um, what's really interesting is the story that's being set up between Ouroboros and Kang.
Yeah.
Just like so, they drop off the TVA book to Kang, or sorry, to Victor.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like obsessed with Ouroboros, and that's the thing. It's not just like this book. He talks about Ouroboros, this gentleman Ouroboros, and I mean, all of the evidence suggests that Ouroboros never had his mind wiped. Is that
Mm,
part of the
must be the plan.
reset?
Must be part of the
Because
plan.
yeah, it's very, very interesting. So, does this series potentially end? Because now that Kang's in the TVA, or sorry,
Mm,
Victor's in the
yeah.
TVA, does this end with Ouroboros teaching Victor, and then what Victor learns from Ouroboros turns him into Kang essentially,
Possibly. Yeah, I do
or
think there's
turns him into
some
He Who
like
Remains?
essentially he who remains is like failsafe is he has these other versions of himself to replace him. But at the end of the day, he needs someone who always understands the temporal loom and how the TVA runs and keeps it running and essentially can reteach him.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think you're right. OB becomes this like purposeful person that is hidden away, but is essential to the TVA and can reteach Kang again what
one
how it
hundred
all
percent.
works and what how to and then repeat the cycle. I do think that's. I think it's also interesting. We got a bit of Miss Minute's backstory.
Yes.
She was made before the TVA and everything. I have a theory on why Miss Minutes clearly wants to be with Kang or Victor or He Who Remains when she's on about like a body and she wants physical
Yeah.
touch. Obviously, we've talked about Renslayer and how in the comic she's like a partner of
Yeah, the love
Kang's. But
interest.
yeah, I wonder if Miss Minutes is based off an old variant of Renslayer, like based off
Maybe.
like her personality, and that's why there's this inherent connection that they have.
Maybe.
I also think Miss Minutes is being set up to be the evil of the season more than
Quite
Kang
possibly.
is.
Yeah, because right now Victor isn't Kang. He's
Well, yeah.
not close to
So
being
yeah,
Kang.
Victor.
Um, so you're gonna have a Miss Minutes character who's just desperate to have a Kang because she loves
Mm,
Kang. So
mm,
she's gonna try and create. She's gonna try and push Victor into this direction and manipulate stuff for sure.
I wonder if we
Um,
get like a factory reset on Miss Minutes.
I think how what we got 3 episodes left, so it's
The loom's gonna get fixed at some point, I think.
yeah. So the last episode of Loki comes out the day the Marvels come out.
Okay. Mm,
That's not common.
no, but at the same time, all the schedule changes and stuff like
Yeah, not wrong.
probably
Um,
wasn't intended.
it's gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah, I wonder. We've got 3 episodes left. I think I do think the loom gets fixed because we're going to kind of want that payout of they fix it or the TVA goes into meltdown.
Yeah.
Like we either see what happens when it does finally melt down and it all collapses, or we see what happens, it gets fixed and maybe things get reset. I
I
think
mean,
maybe it ends on Victor stepping past that into becoming Kang, sort of like it ends with him kind of realizing the control he can have, maybe.
yeah, I think it's a bit tricky because if you have the TVA still around, you've got people who understand the timeline
Mm,
around to help when Kang arrives.
mm,
Whereas if you let the TVA get destroyed, all you have is Loki and maybe Mobius to help the Avengers and other
yeah,
heroes understand how dangerous Kang is.
yeah, true.
So it might
Ooh,
actually be a situation where letting the TVA be destroyed and only having Loki, Sylvie, Mobius survive is
what if
better.
Victor? What if Victor is a distraction?
In what sense?
What if right at the end of this season, an evil Kang rocks up, kills Victor to cause the TVA to melt down, and give them all like the all the Kangs the freedom to do what they want, sort of thing. And like you say,
Yeah,
then you've only got Loki, maybe Mobius and Sylvie that like no, maybe Obi survives.
yeah, no, that makes sense.
And like
I
we're
could see
focused
that
on
happening.
expecting Victor to become the next Kang, and then suddenly evil Kang comes along, it all collapses and it all goes wrong. I
I
do
wouldn't
think
be
you
against
might be
that.
right with the TVA is going to come to an end. So there's this issue of Avengers and stuff don't know and understand like
Yeah, if
who
you've
the
got an entire army of TVA agents who understand how dangerous this all is and know how to manipulate it and all their technologies alive,
hmm,
you've got too many easy cop outs.
yeah.
And then if they don't use them easy cop outs, you're gonna have people going, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't they just use this?"
Hmm.
So I think that is part of the problem.
Did you see the Thor's brother little Easter egg
No,
when they arrived at the fair? Oh, what's Thor's brother called? I'm forgetting now. Um,
I assume you mean other than Loki.
yeah, other than Loki, um,
Do they have is there another brother?
there is. Oh my god, why am I forgetting his
Boulder?
Boulder. There's like Odin, Thor, and Boulder, and
Yeah.
Loki's like, why is Boulder there? And then Mobius is like, oh yeah, Boulder the Brave. And then you get a moment of Loki going, yeah, Thor's not that tall. Like, still bitter about his half brother. But I'm like, is Marvel? Are we gonna get like a
Boulder the Brave.
yeah, maybe? But
um,
there was a few different Easter eggs dotted around.
Overall, I'm enjoying the show. I do not have the same confidence as you regarding the pacing. I
I'm
don't think
hopeful.
enough has happened for halfway through the show. But
Um,
we also don't know what end point they're trying to get to.
yeah, this is the thing.
If the end point is just a resolution with the loom situation,
That's what I'm
they
thinking.
can get there relatively easily. But I don't know how much else we get to go with that.
I'm of the mindset of the story like this season is based on the loom, and it's going to end with either meltdown or fixed, and whatever happens around that happens around it. But I think that is, which I think at the moment it feels like it's going to be okay to hit that. But I am still like cautiously optimistic as of the track record of the MCU shows. Like we've seen the issues before, sort of thing. I guess we just wait and
Yeah.
see.